Good day, everybody. This is Z from the Plejaren Diaries, and this is an addition to the special section I'm doing here, kind of explaining some of the highlights so far that I've experienced, and they're all in my books. Um, One of the things that people ask me a lot about are the colonies, and my first experience in a colony, the Plejaren colony, was incredible. I can't really tell you the size because there's real no place that I can relate it to. I mean, it's just massive. Let's put it that way. And there's like, I think there's like 300,000 or something like that people that live there. Um, what a colony is to them is it's this really long cylinder, and they have like I had learned before how they collect energy. Uh, those are on the outside that collects the light, and then it's vacuumed into a small thing, and then it provides tons of electricity or power. Also, they have like they suck air or oxygen out of space, and that is also used on the ends of them, which was unique when we came close to it when we were or going there. Um, the ends are open, it seems, but they're not. There's this stuff, this material that they use, like on their homes and stuff, that's virtually invisible. It's what I found out is it's a metal, a transparent metal, and so they are able to position this cylinder to a nearby sun or solar system, whatever you want to call it, and it can rotate and kind of emulate like having light for a while and then darkness for a while, sort of like a planet does, right? I don't know exactly why they do that, other than I kind of like it. So, anyways, it's this massive cylinder, right? And when you go in there and you're standing at a high point and you're looking down on this, you can see the curve, right? And they have like the upper half where we were was where they live. Uh, I guess you could call it apartments, for lack of better words, but that's where they reside. And then there are other portions in the place where they can do their work, whatever it may be. They have like just like on the planet, they have this area, I call it like a shopping mall or a strip center, where they have all these different shops where people provide services. Although, again, remember, they have no monetary system, so nobody makes any money. Everything is free. And so, but due to things like natural law, it works. It fills the needs of the people. Um, Similarly, like you'll see or here on the planet, where there are, like the farming and everything is all automated, but there are still people who love doing this by hand, and that's what they do. And then they collect the the vegetables or fruits or whatever, and they take it to market. And so at the market, then they provide that for anybody who wants it. Um, it's all about passion. These people find the passion because of natural law, how they're raised. They gravitate to the things that interest them, and then they're provided, access to more and more and more as far as they want to go with those sort of things. So on the colonies, some of the people go there rather than on the planet to see more things, kind of like we would want to experience more and all. And so anyway, you're on this the cylinder, inside the cylinder, and it's just massive. And when you're down below, like they have grassy areas, they have all kinds of things to do. I mean, they even have like high heels to climb and things like that. Um, it's just a multitude. It's like a city inside, and uh, that was where I was introduced to how the food works. And the cylinders also produce more food than they need for the colony, and so that's what you call like exported, to the places where it's needed. And when we went in there, it was awesome. It was like a grow house is what you would imagine, but it was very clean and stuff. And there was people that would be working on the plants, and there would be like this little robot, strange looking thing that moved, and it wasn't like a human or anything. It was like square, and then appendages would come out, you know, to hand stuff to you, or to do what they needed to do. And so anyways, we're looking at this plant, and I think I explained a little bit before about how, like, Hans, you know, told me put my fingers in the soil, and I did, and I pulled it out right back out. It felt like there was something live in there, and that's the truth. It has um, this. They take soils and they mix these different soils from different places together, and to make the different stages of how they grow the plants from a seedling to a bush. And my first impression was, it's like it was like a tiny tree like this or so, and it had like grapevines, you know, where it would had these all these fruits on it. And so, anyways, as they're showing it to me, when they find one that's ready, you know, to be produced, they when they pull it off, it, you know, immediately buds again. And so, um, I got the opportunity. They gave it one, and like I told you before, it's unbelievable how it just explodes in your mouth, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's just so good. But they take that, and then what they do is they create those little great balls I was talking about. You know, it's full of nutrition, and it just, you get this energy bump when you eat it. But I ate them right off the little plant, which is more enjoyable to you. Something about eating a little ball, even though it's deceiving, because when you put it in your mouth, you swear it's not this great little ball. It's awesome. Yeah, but anyway, um, so in other words, it's like a living or floating city, and they can move that to different places. And the one thing that I thought was interesting, like talking to Hans and Franz about it, was like, why aren't we doing something similar, you know, rather than shooting from the Earth to Mars and so on? Why don't we build a small like city, get it, and we can move it into proximity of different places that we want to go, and then we can just, you know, if we want to explore Mars, for instance, it's not a big deal, because they can position themselves around it and then go to and from. And that's how they actually grew. That was the essence of how they started to colonize the universe, so to speak. And so, anyways, that was really cool. I don't know, there's so many things that happened there, but I didn't get to explore a lot of that. Um, because of time restraints and what we were doing. But then there was, later on, me and Sam Jess got to know these people that I have labeled as Vulcans. Again, they do have somewhat of a pointed ear, but it's not a big deal. And they gave me the appearance of like the TV show, you know, or they're called Vulcans, but they're nothing like that, other than somewhat in appearance. They do have emotion just like everyone else. Well, you know, the group and the family and people here. But they were very interesting, and they had spent, I think it's like 6 years or 6.5 years here on Earth, living here, working here, for a multitude of reasons. But mostly they wanted to try to understand somewhat of their history, their peoples, because it's so similar to ours, before, you know, they advanced, before they were contacted. And so me and Sam Jess really got along with this couple. And so, you know, there was an incident I'll tell you about after this, but we got, long story short, we got to see their colony, and their colonies are quite different. And again, they're like only 2,000 years advanced from us, rather than like the Plejarens, who are 5,000 years advanced. Anyway, so we went to one of their places, and as we're getting there, it looked like the moon or something, right? I mean, it looked dead on the outside. And so I'm kind of curious as we're getting closer. And so then we come to a place where we enter into this planet. It's kind of like the colony's built within the sphere. And I don't know why they build it like this versus the cylinder that the Plejarens do, but it makes sense because they can position it also anywhere they want, right? And so they tend to keep it in areas where it's most needed, and then they can kind of emulate another planet or a moon, that sort of thing, and they can fit in with, you know, the soup, so to speak. Okay, so anyways, we enter into it, and we got out and we start going around, and they're showing us these different things, and I completely forgot that we were inside of a sphere, because in many of the places that we would go to, I would look up and there's sky, right? So it was like, how is this happening? So finally, when I started to discover it, I asked the male, and he said that this is like just like the material that I was talking about at the ends of the cylinder, where it's invisible, but it's a metal, and it's the same there where they open it up to outside, so that they can also mimic light and dark and that sort of thing. And um, I asked, well, but when we were coming here, all I saw was, like a moon. There was no openings to the surface. And he explained to me that there was, it's the same thing, except for it's, we call it diffused on the outside. So you don't see anything. It looks just like the rest of the landscape. Where on the inside, you can see out. So anyway, that I thought that was pretty fascinating. And they had somewhat of a similar process of producing food. And they had those areas which I got to go in, and we actually, we saw the different layers of soils. It was like a tier system, and we would put in a seed, and then within 20 minutes it was sprouting. Then we move it to another tray of different types of soil, and then it grew quite a bit. And then into the final one, which was kind of like in the Plejaren colony, where it started to fruit. And it was very similar, but I found out that there are different types of flavors or types of nutrition for different types of purposes other than just eating. So anyways, we learned that. And we went to, he took us down to these several different places where we went, where they have activities and stuff. So it's not only a support mechanism, for food and material, but it also is kind of like a resort for people traveling and so forth. And so there was a multitude of activities, but there was one in absolute particularity that was just freaking awesome. And we went to this area. Well, oh my God, there are so many things that happened, but I put them all in the book. But this one is really, really unique. We went to this place because they asked if, do we want something to eat? And so, yeah, we'll go. So we go walking down into this place, and there's this big circle on the ground. And, the female Vulcan said, look up. So I look up, and I see these massive, like, platforms, and then these little ones all around. And so we're standing in the middle of the circle, and they explain to me, because I start looking around, and I'm seeing people just jump and floating up in the air, right? And so that's what the whole intent was. It's kind of like something fun to do or whatever. But you stand in there, and they explained to me, jump, up, and the inertia will carry me. If, for instance, I don't do enough or something, there's ways of getting up there, or we get help, right? But just to aim for, like, he suggested one of the smaller little platforms, which almost looks like a diving board, right? Way up in the air. And so I would jump to that. And then when the large platforms, they held all these different, like, shops and things to do and that sort of thing. There's a library. There's one of culture and so on. But the one we were going to was to like a restaurant, a place to get something to drink and be served. And so anyways, I jumped to the first platform and stuff, and I'm thinking, dude, this is so cool. I just jumped off the ground and I floated up, right? And it was like nothing. And I wasted my time not looking down to see what I was doing. I was so busy looking up and experiencing what was going on. So I get to this platform, and I do it pretty gracefully and stuff. And now I'm starting to catch on, to be more aware, to witness what I'm seeing. And so, I look down and I see Sam Jess coming and the others. And so then I make this leap towards the platform, and I'm looking down the whole time and stuff, and just watching this and just in disbelief of what's actually happening to me. And so I miss this, like, this platform had like a railing all the way around it, and there were different open areas, you know, where you step in and be on top of it. And I missed that. But there's no problem, you know. I got to the there's like a railing that goes all the way across around it. And so I got to that and just made my way over and stepped in. And once I stepped in onto this platform, I'm solid again. I'm not floating away. So anyways, I wait there until the others get there, and we have our coffee and all that, and then we can leap to other platforms, which we did. And then going down is somewhat similar. You know, you just jump and let the inertia take you down, but you have to have that, you know, intend, you know, pushing down sort of thing. And so it's the same thing. And then let's see, when the we got to really know the Vulcans pretty well. We got along really well with them. And so there was a time, probably before this, I think it was, if you're looking at the order, we got with them and went to see them and visit them. And I think this is where I can tell you about the homes. When I visited the Plejaren planet, you know, the one that's like the Philippines in a sense, mostly water, but have all these islands all throughout this entire the globe or the world. And I told you about the little motorcycles transportate, and they got these like train things and these little ships that you can go from island to island and even into space with. The house part, when we got to this area, we come across this guy. We're like walking along, and they have these small animals and stuff, but they're not, the Plejarens aren't afraid of them like they are of our animals, because they're very docile. And so, you know, they don't mind you, and you don't pay any attention to them in a way. But we're walking along these trails where I don't see anything really, and we're going to somebody's house to see it. And when we get there, there's this man, an older man, and it was his house, and he was really excited to greet us and invite us to see his home. And it was kind of funny. We had to kind of go in disguise because we call popularity of Sam Jess and all. And so we had these outfits that we wore, which was really cool too, because they were that sort of thing that keeps you comfortable. But it was like Miami Vice, right? Kind of clothes, and it's similar to what they wear. Very comfortable, you know, loose fitting clothes. And so, but they had all these specialities to them to keep you comfortable and stuff. And we went inside. Well, we got to the place, and I didn't see it. All I saw was like this nature, right? There was like hills and trees, and just like you would imagine an island. And we actually went into the house before I even knew that there was a house there. The outside had that same material that I was talking about, that metal that's invisible in a sense. So you don't really see it, but you can if you're really looking for it, you can. And so we entered into his home, where there was like a little creek running through it, and it didn't look like a person's home, but they had some of those fruit trees along the way, which you could just pick and eat as you wanted, because they don't even have a regular system of eating. They eat when they're hungry. Kind of makes sense, right? But it was fascinating. There was different levels. Like there was a mountain, or not a mountain, but like a hill and stuff that was in there, and that's like how you get to the second level. There wasn't any stairs to speak of, and you know, into the bedroom. And then where the bath is, and where you clean up, or the bathroom, it all goes from that water that's being pulled up. In the Plejaren house, it was brought up, that running water, you know, it was under the surface, and was brought up for the purpose of being in the house. And so you clean and everything, or bathe in that same water, but it's refiltered before it enters back into that stream. Also in the stream, that's where you can get your water you can just drink from it. You can also, lay in it or swim in it, depending on how it's created. Um, so you don't have any need for plumbing and that sort of thing. Um, they make these things so massive, but what it is everybody has a piece of property, and it's free, and everybody helps build it for you, and so you can design it in any way that you want. And in other words, it's almost like living in nature, and they have these automated regulators that control your environment, and it works both for keeping certain bugs out and for helping feed the animals. I mean, feed the plant life that's in there, which is abundant. Um, there's so much, right? But I wanted to give you an idea how this works. And the homes are massive, but you can build it as big as you want, right? Within a property, right, that you're assigned to, or you choose, and then it's assigned. Then in relation to like the Vulcans, they don't really care to have such large ones. And their ground is more similar, but there's more of a continent than being as small as islands. And they also have water, and the atmosphere is very similar to ours. But it was regardless of the clothes that I was wearing, any lacking of that would be supplied by the suit or the clothes, right? So they also like to sign their home, so it's not as invisible. Yeah, they still have that metal, the invisible metal, and that's transparent. But like in the doorway, I was able to identify the doorway when we got close because they had like rocks stacked into it, like a design, like sort of like a welcome mat, right? And once you're inside, it was more definable. They had something that was similar, like the creek that ran through, but I asked them, oh yeah, but I asked them about, well, when we build a home and we have water in it, there's this moisture problem, mold and stuff, and it's all regulated, so they don't have to worry about that. Their creek that ran through there was above surface when they built it, so some are and some aren't, but it's a way that they can create these living homes in a sense. There was also, they had a fireplace, an actual fireplace that was built, but it was built out of the natural product, like rocks and things. And so they could have a fire. They also had, like, it would be like an open air kitchen, I guess is the best way to describe it, where they actually had a sink and they had some plumbing. And the rest of the place was the same. Above on the roof, the invisible roof, they had like a design. So so in other words, it was much easier to identify their homes versus the Plejaren homes. Um, it was amazing. They even had a natural waterfall that was part of the house. So anyways, that stuff was really cool. It kind of gives you some idea of how these different species live. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention about the colony. We went to this place where they had this like lake, and it was always dark because they kept it that way because of the materials that made up the lake was like a turquoise color that glowed, so it kind of created the light, and the purpose for being there was to play in the lake, right? And while we were there were different peoples that hung out there and went there to enjoy time, and it was groups of people. But we came across these beings that were very short. There's about 3.5 feet tall, similar to what you would think of as like these little grays or whatever, but there were differences. I guess you would, like the movie Paul, it would be closer to, but their skin was kind of a glowing, but it would change. Their eyes were like ours, but they were large, right? So it'd be looking at these really big eyes, but they were the teardrop shape and stuff, and they had holes on the side, but no apparent ear. But that would be what I would think was their ear. they did not have a mouth. And so I thought that was kind of curious. And they had they had the three fingers. Oh yeah, now the Vulcans, they had five. I mean, six. They had five fingers and a thumb, but you don't notice it. Then, but anyways, we meet these beings, and the male Vulcan and the female Vulcan were really happy to have come across them. And so, um, they don't speak. And the way they told me, the Vulcan told me, was that when they came into contact with these people, when they first started being in contact, they managed to find a way through technology to talk to each other, because they couldn't speak, and we can't. The other species didn't have, I guess, the receivers to hear them in the way that they speak, which I don't know what is. But anyways, they were just like this really happy little group, right? Of these, almost like children. And so the Vulcan, he stands in front of one of them, and they kind of line up, to face us too, the other female Vulcan, Sam Jess and me. And the Vulcan tells me, do this. And he put his hands out in front of this being. And this being, you could tell seemed to be happy or having joy with this, exchange. And so it put its hands up on his. And what I saw was like this red glow all around the hands. And the Vulcan, the male, he was smiling, and he kind of looked over at us, and it's like he's almost high or something. I mean, he was just really enjoying. It was very blissful. So, I do the same, and that's exactly what I was getting. Was I didn't hear no voices or anything, but I just felt this incredible joy from the energy that was being transmitted between us, however that worked. And it was the same with Sam Jess. Sam Jess was even giggling. And once we finished, we said our goodbyes, and they were just like so happy to have interfaced, I guess, with us. So anyways, I wanted to throw that in there just because it was a neat story that, happened. And then, okay, so you get kind of an idea of the colonies and their planets, their homes. So I want to talk about an incident. This is where we reconnected with the Vulcans before we got to see their colony, I guess it was what you say. But we went, like, Sam Jess had this, I guess, thing where she had to show up, ceremony or whatever, on one of the Vulcan planets, which is nearly all water. And the land wasn't really usable and stuff. But what they had created was what, I've coined as a preserve, right? It was this really large facility. Like when we approached, it was massive, and this huge like dome. Yeah, you could actually see the dome, I guess, because it's kind of advertising, right? And it was really large. I'm telling you, large. And so we enter in, and we made up with Sam Jess and everything, and the family wanted to go there, and they wanted to take me along so that we could go swimming there, which you can do. But first, when I saw Sam Jess, the family takes off and they go do their thing, and we go for a walk. And as we go for a walk, you could tell that like everything there was carved out of like the coral or whatever it would be. It's kind of a darker color. And it had natural lighting because I could connect, or well, not at that time, but now I know the waters were like glowing in a sense, but they weren't using artificial light. And it was similar to like the lake on the Vulcan, whatever you call it, the colony. So anyway, we go for this walk, and I'm just amazed at, what we're doing. This is all natural, it was all created out of it. And there were some like animals, like water animals, like you would be similar to a turtle, large, and it would be out of the water along the edges and things. And this was a very like sacred thing to interact with these different animals and fish and such. So, and there's a whole story behind that, an amazing thing, and sound. But anyways, we did meet two beings there that I hadn't seen before. And again, they were like us, but they were very, very tall, and they uh, they had a different look to their face, and they couldn't communicate with me, where most of these beings that I've met were able to communicate. So Sam just did sort of a translation, and it was just a greeting and everything, but they were very tall. But when I looking at them, they looked normal other than the height. But when they turned their head, it was like their heads were longer. They looked just like us, like our skull and everything, except for to the side they were larger. So that was these beings, and I don't remember exactly. Sam just told me where they were from, but like, yeah, like I'm in the middle of the ocean and somebody points in a certain direction. That's about as good as it gets for me. But anyways, we went back, and this was just the most awesome experience. Like I said, it was a Vulcan type place, and I'm not going to tell you all the story because there's too much detail that you would miss just from me talking. But how there was we were going to go swimming, right? And in order to do this, these, like, when me and Sam just get there was two of these Vulcan women that took her and two took me, and basically, they told me to stand with my arms out and legs apart, and on the ground I could see like this tube. I could see like almost like a gas tank to a lawnmower or something, that was kind of shaped on a curve, and a mouthpiece, and I didn't quite understand what was going on. But one lady was starting to spray my feet, clothes on and everything, and working her way around and up. And the other one was explaining to me what's going on, how that they were applying this skin to me and allow me to be in the water, but it was like an aqua blue color with like streaks. It almost looked real natural. And then as they're moving their way up, she explains to me how that there would be this tube, and they would put this thing on my head, the little gas tank looking thing, and the tube would come from that to my mouth, and that was my oxygen. And that this piece that they put in my mouth, I would not even feel it. I wouldn't even notice it. But it looked like kind of like a snorkel thing, right? And so as they're applying this, whatever it was, this skin to me, and they were working their way up, they placed, the things in position, the tube and this head thing, the gas tank, and the tube that ran into my mouth. And she was right. I couldn't even tell. And then there was these like swimmer glasses, these real things that just covered your eyes. And so they spray all this stuff all over my body, the skin, and I realize I can breathe, and it's odd, and I can speak and everything. And they told me that like there's these filters in the gas tank or the oxygen tank, that it would last an hour, where I could be underwater, I could speak, I could do anything, and I wouldn't be affected. And so it was amazing. So we get in the water, and there's all these fish around and stuff that were similar to what you would see here, but they were different. Everything, and there was so Sam Jess is talking to me, and I'm like nodding my head or whatever, and I forget that I can talk. And finally, I oh yeah. So I spoke, and it was just like we were on regular land having a conversation. I mean, it was freaking awesome. But we had some really amazing experiences in there where we got to, I think it's called cynetics or something like that, where sound creates images. And I was able to learn so many different things about symbols like that here on Earth. And, you talk to the old ancients and stuff, and they don't recognize that a lot of the symbols that they use were actually created sounds. And so anyway, and then I guess there's one other thing that I want to get into on this is we have a cat. If you haven't read the books and stuff or remember, we managed, there was a deal where it was they were afraid of our animals, and then I explained to them, different types of animals, dangerous, not dangerous, and that sort of thing. And then I started showing them animal videos, funny animal videos and stuff. And then, long story short, we adopted one and brought it onto the ship, which was chaos. But it didn't take long, just like anywhere. And us, people, everybody fell in love with it eventually, for the most part. And it has its own toys and things like that. It's just for example, if we're going to go away for a while or something, it knows it has these places along the wall where it can put its paw. It does this better than me. I can't work the wall stuff, right? Where you touch chair, touch open windows. Well, it has it for food and other obvious things. And it also has toys. Like it can be walking down a hallway and like these butterflies fly out of the wall. They're not real, of course, but when she hits them, they'll go down just like as if it was real. And when we go away for a period of time or something, they can put her in the holodeck. I don't know if I've talked about that before, but they have what I call the holodeck, which is, it gives you a good idea of what I'm talking about, and where she can have other friends, which are other animals and stuff, which are solid and everything. I don't know how this is all done, but anyway, she is able to be occupied, and she finds her way around, and she's become part of the crew, I guess. So, anyways, I think that's enough for this one, and we'll probably get into some other stuff on another one. So anyway, for now, see ya.